Talk Show. Recorded live.
And we're speaking with David Raymond Amos. This guy has been through a lot. Our government, the United States government, the USSA, United Socialist States of America, has tried to put our guest tonight in Guantanamo Bay. He's got a lot to tell. He's a major whistleblower. He's got a lot to share about the Madoff, Arlen Specter. He's going to be giving his insight on that, as well as Elliot Spitzer and other crimes that our government has been involved in and continues to be involved in. David Raymond Amos, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you, sir. Good day, folks.
Now, David, tell us a little background about who is David Raymond Amos before we get started. Who is Mr. David?
Well, David Amos is just a guy, nobody special. My forte is I'm a really good bike mechanic. At one time I was anyway, so much so that the RCMP used to hire me as an expert witness for my knowledge of motorcycles. I testified at a coroner's inquiry, or I would inspect bikes or stuff like that. I'm a bike mechanic. Years later, I wound up married to a nice American lady, and I'm a proud father of 2 Yankees, although I'm a very proud Canadian. It shouldn't make me a bad fellow because I have fathered Americans.
Right, I hear you.
But that said, I'm a strong believer in the rule of law. No one should be above the law. Everyone should be accountable, and particularly public servants and law enforcement. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Particularly law enforcement that swore oaths to uphold the law, and politicians that swore to uphold constitutions of both Canada and the United States. So I'm a person that is of 2 countries. I have permanent resident status in the United States of America, but I'm a Canadian citizen only. So because of my status as an alien, particularly underneath the Patriot Act, I have little to no rights other than under Section, 1942. I happen to be a human being. But what I'd done years ago was blown the whistle on various matters involving financial crimes with the U.S. Treasury Department and murder with the FBI, and gave all the same evidence to the RCMP and Interpol in return for my efforts.
Well, David, let me interrupt you right there. The RCMP, there's a lot of people that are probably listening, predominantly the us, my fellow Americans, that are not familiar with the term RCMP. Obviously, it's a well-familiar term in Canada, but for the sake of the American audience, or maybe audiences in other countries, explain before you go on, what is the RCMP, so when you're mentioning it, they know what you're referring to.
Yeah, a lot of people misunderstand some of the things about Canada. They think that Queen Elizabeth still rules the country. She signed off on our country in 1982 by way of an act of Parliament in Britain, and she gave us our sovereignty. The proof of that is Britain went into Iraq with Mr. Bush, but Canada did not. There is proof of our sovereignty. So the Queen, even though she's on our dollar and everything, she's the figurative head of our state. So she gives our state, our country, her name, so we can point the finger at saying that's Canada. But if you read our Constitution and our laws, she acts in right of Canada, which means in name only. So the Governor General, which he's being buried right now about 5 miles from where I was born and raised, and he knew my father, his name's LeBlanc, he was a vice-regal representative of the United States of America, but he is just window dressing. When we talk of the Crown or Her Majesty the Queen, we mean us, we the people. Now, as far as the RCMP goes, the RCMP are a very, very unusual police force. They are the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And if you look at various laws in Canada, like the Crown Liability Act and stuff, they are servants of Her Majesty the Queen. They take 2 oaths, one to uphold the law and one to the force. The RCMP are not accountable to anyone except themselves. They are a paramilitary force. They pretend to be police officers, but they are actually military. The RCMP, if you had an ethical RCMP whistleblower that wanted to blow the whistle on bad actions within the RCMP, according to his oath, he can be prosecuted for revealing results of his investigation. They are accountable only to themselves, just like a military tribunal or court. The RCMP are the same. Now, where the RCMP are particularly powerful is they are our town cop, our CIA, our FBI, our federal police force, all rolled up into one. And the RCMP are very well connected. Like, for instance, one commissioner, former commissioner, he is Interpol, he oversees Africa. Harper Boucher, the deputy commissioner here, he is now in charge of the Interpol office in New York. And former Commissioner Inkster is one of the bosses of Navigant, the people that audit the auditors. He used to be a member of KPMG. The RCMP, do not underestimate them. They're very, 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 very powerful police force because you know how the FBI and your town sheriff will squabble about jurisdiction?
Correct.
That's not a problem with the RCMP. They have jurisdiction everywhere.
And we are getting a lot of static, David, but we're going to continue with this interview here. We are getting a lot of static. Of course, you know, last time we attempted to do this interview, we had a cyber attack. So this is, people, for a pre-recorded interview. It's our way of getting around those that don't want the information to be heard, David. I just want to let you know we are getting some static. You know, we had to basically kill the show last time we had you on a few days ago.
Well, I can enlighten you on that somewhat, too, if you're interested.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that, all that and more. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, as far as cyber attack goes, there again, United States has always had, you have to have a warrant in order to wiretap someone, but Canada doesn't have those rules.
Well,
so
we don't have many now. We don't have many more now,
no, but,
David. We used to.
Yeah,
we used to. But
I know.
Thanks to Bush and Obama, FISA amendment. But go ahead.
Yeah, but Canada didn't have those rules, so American phone lines have always been monitored by way of Canada. So they've always had computers in U.S. Marines stationed in Canada. And they'd have, like, computers listening to people's phone conversations. Certain key words would come up, and then a person would start listening to it, and the conversation was particularly important. There'd be a van down the street. You were always monitored.
Right. I believe the program that they use is the Echelon program, and there's another one they use called Carnivore. The Echelon and Carnivore program.
Yeah, well, I don't know that, but I'll tell you what I do know. This phone company that I'm speaking on is Alliant. It's a subsidiary of Bell Canada, which is Ma Bell, you know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, the chairman of the board of Alliant is a lawyer in Newfoundland by the name of Chuck White. Now, he's also the chairman of the board of a company called Stratus, and they keep their office inside the legislative building of Newfoundland. Now, how does an American-based company manage to keep a corporate office inside parliamentary buildings? And it's a 24-hour world. And if you look at the board of directors of Stratus, right, you will see it's based in Bethesda, Maryland, and they're the who's who of the U.S. defense industry. And then, if you notice, all Internet traffic goes through Bethesda. One time there was an accident in a tunnel there, and it took out half the world there in the Internet. So everything is, all Internet, everything that's said on the Internet, everybody knows is monitored.
Right.
as is the phone line.
Unless you're living under a rock. Unless you're living under a rock or on the dark side of the moon, right?
Yeah, everybody knows what I'm saying is so.